In my opinion, that it's a basis of is a double standard, and Malcolm X said they make the criminal look like the victim and the victim look like the criminal. And you know, for example, the U.S. attacks other nations abroad for no reason. They don't even have a reason for that. Whereas us on and they're not criminalized, and they're looked as heroes, and they make loads of money off that, and that's all legitimate. Whereas people on the streets, or people like ourselves, who are just out here doing peaceful actions in accordance with, you know, freedom, democracy, and justice, wealth, and equality, we're criminalized and we'll be put in jail. And it's a double standard. There's all the laws, they don't really exist. In my opinion, we don't live in a democracy. The majority of people didn't want to go into Iraq. The majority of people want to be out of Afghanistan. The majority of people wanted to be, and that's all based on polls, you know, that people think. And we elect leaders that don't do what they say they're going to do. And so if the majority of people want to be out of Iraq, we should be out of Iraq. It's private interest that runs it, and that's based upon big money. And the big money is what's pushing these things. And this, you know, us small people who don't have the same representation because we don't have access to the means and the funds that these people do. And just because you have the freedom of speech doesn't mean you have the, you know, we can't own a billboard, we can't own a radio station. These people own whole broadcasting networks to put their thing out. They own these big, and they use our money to do it, you know, with tax incentives and all this type of stuff. So yeah, that's what I think. It's a criminalization of dissent. It's a criminalization of people who are trying to make a change from the status quo, people who have the power and the money. We have upcoming Pie for the People event that people are organizing. It's at 266 East Utica, September 8th at 5 to 8 p.m. But also online, if you go to WordPress, Nate Buckley Defense Committee at WordPress.com, something similar. There's also there's a link you can click and you can donate by PayPal. You can send money. Also, there's an address on there to send money to if you want to send a check form. You come by the bookstore, donate. But yeah, those are different ways you could do that. People's, you know, no one has all the answers and no one has all the power, but you know, all of us together, teaching each other, working with each other, you know, teaching, learning from each other, and building is what's going to make change in here. Through this entire process, I just want to thank all my supporters and all the people, because it's not just me who's on trial, it's the entire freedom of speech. If people wouldn't have followed me up onto the bank property when the police officers dragged me up there and beat me with a club, and everybody was taping it. So if I wouldn't have that tape, all the police officers would have been believed with me and not, and who knows what would have happened then, or what more the police would have done. Ever since then, people have been coming to the trial, because this, you know, they say an injury to one is an injury to all, and that's really the truth. And you know, people think that it's not going to be at their doorstep, or just this thing doesn't affect them. But the thing is we're all connected here, and so we don't have a chance unless we're organized and working together. So I appreciate you putting out this thinking and supporting what you believe in. Thank you, Lonnie.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Nate.
Yeah, I just wanted to add that, you know, along the lines of what Nate was saying, that we are all in this together. You know, people have been deluded into thinking, you know, that it's, you know, like black against white or men against women, you know, Democrats versus Republicans and conservative versus liberal. Like, those are all false divisions. You know, the reality is that we as a people, we all want jobs, education for our kids, and health care, and just like a peaceful, you know, coherent and harmonious society that works towards the betterment of all, not just towards the betterment of like 1% of the people, right? And the real thing, I think, for people to get, whether you're on the right or left or Republican or Democrat, doesn't matter, is that it's not a right or left issue, it's an up and down issue. It's the 1% that controls all the money and the media and the politicians versus the people, the rest of the people. And we have a lot in common. We need to work together.
One thing I want to bring up is the political nature of the prosecution during the trial. The DA brought up the bookstore that we opened here and the content of the books here. They brought up my work with political prisoners, my work in the community, including prisoners are people too, my family's work in the community and our political work, you know, and this is our right as individuals to be political people, to be involved in our community, to care what's going on in our community, to have a stake in what it would play. And they used all these things to criminalize me and to like make me look like a terrorist or someone who's like really like a bad person. And the fact is that these are our First Amendment rights, which are guaranteed by the Constitution, whether you believe in that or not. And you know, they don't have a right to bring up all these things when they don't have anything to do with what happened at the actual day of the incident, in which I was in my legal rights, and the only people who are violent, who aren't taking any responsibility, are the police. And like, for example, M&T Bank and the wars we're talking about, these people don't take any responsibility, and they're super political and they're violent on a constant basis, and they're never put on trial. And you know, it's just, you know, it should be alarming, in my opinion, that, you know, am I on trial for being up on a wall for a couple seconds, or am I on trial for my political thought? And I don't think it has their right or their business what I do with my First Amendment rights. And that's what the majority of the whole entire, it's like the Red Scare back in the day, and it's the same thing today.